Hello, Facebook Live. All right, I'm a few minutes late, but hopefully worth the wait. So excited. I've got my ginger tea. It's a cold, cold night here. How is it where you all are? Let me know. Let me know. How's everybody doing on this beautiful cold winter night? And I'm kind of in a cozy mood. It's sort of dark, it's quiet. I was a bit late because my son came home, wouldn't you know, at 10 to 7. So just wanted to make sure that he had time to eat and sort of clear the space so that I have time to really focus in on the transmission of tonight. And so better late than never. Here I am. This is one of my favorite topics in the whole world, receiving. Actually, you can't really talk about receiving without talking about giving and vice versa. And yet, so often we villainize receiving in a way, and we think it's selfish, or giving is, really idealized. And yet, they really are two sides of the same coin. One cannot even exist without the other. And we know that logically, right? But so many of us, we have trouble receiving. So we're going to get into a little bit of why that is, and my story and my journey of receiving. And I really intend for tonight to be a transmission, not really so much of a class or a teaching. If you want to go deeper into this, I have a whole beautiful program called The Feminine Formula of Receiving. And it really is juicy. It's a juicy topic. And actually learning how to receive it's actually practical. It seems rather abstract, I know, and it seems very mysterious and subtle. I mean, how do you teach someone how to receive who isn't? It's kind of like teaching someone how to love themselves if they don't. Where do you start? Where do you begin? And I know a lot of people begin with just wanting to receive, that desire, and that is fair. However, it actually requires something different than just the desire. In fact, sometimes the desire can be what's pushing it away, oddly enough. So we're going to get into all of that tonight. And I want to first kind of just open up this topic by sharing what I posted about earlier. I was really talking about how the topics of money and sex and what else might be sort of awkward or considered impolite conversation. I know those two really rank high. I guess there's religion and politics. And tonight I really just want to talk about my own experience, which was one who felt that I have desire to receive. I felt that I was worthy of receiving. I've never really felt like I was less than anyone, and I've never felt like I was better than anyone. I always felt like I was really brothers and sisters with everyone, a child of the universe, and I just felt like whatever anyone else could have, I could have, and anything that I could have, anyone else could have. I've always sort of had that feeling. That's sort of my orientation to receiving. And yet, that was not my experience of receiving. And over the years, I have, clients, girlfriends, women that I meet. I talk to a lot of women all the time. And what I notice is some of us are great at receiving, and some of us not so much. And I used to be in the camp of not so much. And it was so frustrating. I want to say, if you're a woman who's tuning into this tonight live or the replay, and you're hearing my voice talking about the topic of giving and receiving, just sort of feel into where you are with it, where you sort of sit on the gradient of giving and receiving. And if the scales are like super out of balance, I can so relate. I've been there. And I can also share that once you know how to receive and shift this, it is amazing what can open up in your life. And it's really not that difficult. Now, we know that receiving is more difficult than giving. Most of us are natural givers. And even though we're meant to be natural receivers, it's not always that way for us. It's like we've been conditioned to hold back, be humble, be, God forbid, we don't want to be selfish. We all want to be generous, and we want to be good people. And how is it though that we've sort of, convoluted this idea that to be good means to sacrifice ourselves, which in many cases is what we do when we don't know how to receive. It's literally crazy. And I was somebody who, I just felt that in order to be, good mother and wife and girlfriend, sister, etc., that it was all about putting everyone else before me, putting their needs before me. And as a matter of fact, I felt like I was strong enough actually to do that. I felt like, to those who've been given much, much is expected. To those with great power, there's great responsibility. I always felt very empowered, and what I was so empowered with was like this feeling that I could really accomplish anything if I put my mind to it. I could have, do, or be anything. I felt it was my birthright. I felt entitled to that. And not entitled in a bad way, but more like entitled in the sense that I just knew it was up for the receiving, up for the taking. And yet that wasn't my experience, because I also felt like I really wanted to help others and share and be a generous person. And yet I would sacrifice myself to make that happen, because I felt like, well, I'm in a really good position, or they're not in such a good position. And whatever the rationale was, basically I was sacrificing myself so that another person could thrive. This became sort of a pattern. And I don't know if we have blocks so much as we have patterns, and these patterns can definitely be undone. And when I was newly married, I said I was going to get into a little bit of that in my post today. It was so difficult for me to really receive everything that my husband really wanted to give. And something I've really noticed about masculine men is they really, really love to give. It's like there's a quote that says, let me see if I can find it. I don't want to botch this. It's so good. The ecstasy of men lies in giving, and the ecstasy of women lies in receiving. And you may think, okay, that sounds very sexist, but it's really not. It's about the masculine and the feminine. Masculine men love to give, and feminine women love to receive. And yet, I thought I was a feminine woman. A woman can look very feminine. She can speak softly, but she can also be very masculine. And I was one of those women who was trained by life to go and go and go and do and do and do. And that is all good and fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we are giving and doing and achieving at the expense of receiving, maybe there is something wrong, because as we know, that's kind of a recipe for burnout. And that's what was happening to me, even in my marriage. My husband would want to open doors for me, but I was like, I got it, babe, I've got it. He'd want to, like when we'd go shopping, he'd want to carry all the heavy groceries and just have me go inside. And, I guess his idea was he would bring them all in and then I would put them away. He felt it was easier, like he wanted to do the heavy lifting. Where I was like, no, I can help you bring them in the house. I was constantly just wanting to be, there for him as much as he wanted to be there for me. And even in the bedroom, it was sort of similar, where it was just this, give and take, not that there's anything wrong with wanting to give and receive, but I really felt actually even more comfortable giving. And what I noticed was it really affected him in the sense that if a man's ecstasy is in giving, if the masculine, the divine masculine, is naturally wanting to give, and that is their joy and their highest value, then when we don't receive, and we're always trying to give to them, it actually can really dilute their power and dilute their energy. I remember before we were married, and he gave me a gift, and so I was so excited and everything, but I felt a little bit like, oh no, I didn't have anything for him, and he didn't even care or notice. But the next time we met, I had something for him, and not only did I have something for him, but I actually had something. It was even bigger and grander, and I just wanted to show my appreciation, and so I sort of outdid him. And I could just see the look on his face when he received it. He was just kind of like, what is this? You know, and he was sort of crestfallen. He was like, why? You didn't have to do that. I don't want you to do this. You know, he wanted to give to me, and the gift would have been really for me to just receive, but I really wanted to, not in a competitive way, but I just wanted to like outdo him and make him happy. And this sort of went on in our marriage, and even with money, not so much with him with money, but with my clients and girlfriends, I noticed that if somebody wanted to say, for example, buy me lunch, I would literally fight them for the check. Or when I felt like I had a lot to offer and I was good at what I did, I was just constantly undercharging. What happens is this sets us up for depletion. I know you might be thinking as a heart-centered, conscious woman that you would never want to take advantage. You're not selfish. You don't want to give and receive out of balance. And you don't want to especially receive in a way that you feel maybe depletes someone else or is, like I said before, selfish. And yet, when we don't have the proper understanding of the gift of receiving, we are actually not only blocking receiving with these patterns, but we're actually diluting the masculine energies in our life, the people who want to give to us. We're actually not encouraging and really attractive and magnetic to all the things we want. So I want you to just think about in your life, how good are you at receiving? Maybe, like, let me know in the comments. Is it 50-50, would you say? Is it 30-70, 30% receiving, 70% giving? Just let me know in the comments what it is for you. I'd love to know. And how that shows up in your life, feel into that. Does it sometimes make you feel like resentful? Even though you're grateful, a lot of the time you are appreciative of what comes to you and what's in your life, but you just know that you could be receiving so much more. And you want to be receiving more, but it feels like you just give and give and give for so little in return. This is so not uncommon in our society, where women are big-hearted and generous, and we're multipliers. Anything that we receive, anything that's given to us, we tend to love to give back in return. We tend to, our bodies are multipliers. Our bodies are receivers. It's natural for us to receive, but when we do, a lot of the time it's like a reaction, knee-jerk reaction, where we want to give to others in return. We want to give back right away. And what happens is we're not really in the feminine energy of receiving. We're not experiencing life at its most delicious. And that may sound kind of like, oh yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of things in the world that aren't delicious. And so what? I just want like a decent life. I don't think we're here to just have a quote-unquote decent life or just live in a way where our needs are met. I believe we're actually here to thrive. I know I made that decision in my life to thrive. I was literally 16, standing on a bridge, ready to jump right over, after going to my mom's funeral. And I made this deal with God, like there was something that happened why I didn't jump. There was this lady there with her family and she wouldn't leave. And anyway, it's almost as if she sensed it. So I was like, okay, God, I get the message. You don't want me to do this. Okay, I've had a minute to pause. Like, thank God. But I just said, if I'm going to be here and if I'm going to not, end it all right now, you have to do your part. You have to really show me and help me to not only survive, but thrive. I made that deal a long time ago. And as I went forward in my life, I realized there was this well of so much love and light and beauty and power within me, and I know within everyone, within you as well. Thank you for all the hearts. I love it when you resonate with what I'm saying, and I love when you share that and show me that. So I know that there's like infinite power and beauty in all of us, and infinite things to be received, experiences, joy, abundance, anything you desire. That desire was put into your heart and you're meant for it. It's meant for you. So I started to realize though that many people were living as I had lived, with a single mom. We were in poverty and life wasn't about beauty or deliciousness. And yet these were the things that were exciting to me. I wanted a life that was worth living. And that is for anyone and everyone else to decide what that means for them. For me, it was a life of nature, a life of children, a relationship that was very loyal and very always growing and deepening, and we would challenge each other. It would be a life of beauty where I would be allowing myself, whatever lit me up, I would allow myself to move in that direction. It was as if my senses were all just so turned on, and I just couldn't live a life that wasn't resonant with the beauty. I think in, what is it? The science of, what's it called? The science of, I forget, by Wallace D. Wattles. What is it? The science of receiving or abundance, whatever it is. He says that to the degree that you can receive something is to the degree that it's meant for you. Like if somebody doesn't have the capacity to receive beauty, then beauty is not really meant for them. If they don't have the capacity to receive love, then love, like there's other things that they want, that they have more of a capacity for. But if one has the capacity for beauty, for excitement, for love, for adventure, for mystery, for divine epiphanies, whatever it is, then that's meant for us. We're meant for it. So I noticed that I had this desire for a life that was like romantic and poetic and that would be beautiful to me. It may not be someone else's cup of tea, but for me, it was what lit me up, right? So if that's what was meant for me and I wasn't living that way, so what was in the gap? What was missing? And I came to realize it was really so much, not so much of that it wasn't available, because I saw other women having and enjoying and experiencing. And you may notice that too. You may notice that other women, they're receiving, they're enjoying, they are thriving in their life, and you might feel resentful because you're not. Maybe you are to some degree, but maybe not to the fullest of your capacity. And this is what I think is so interesting about giving and receiving, because many times we think if we give, then we'll receive, or, in order to receive, we have to give. Now, I think that giving and receiving, it's not like that. It's not tit for tat. Excuse that expression, but it's not automatic if you give, you'll receive, and vice versa. It's really an energetic. That's why I want tonight to be more of a transmission than a teaching. Even though I'm going to be sharing a lot of things, it's really the energy of receiving that will come across in subtle ways. Excuse me while I just have a little sip of my tea. And yeah, there are going to be little nuggets along the way. So as a woman who has become someone who really actually couldn't really receive, whether it was a compliment or pleasure in the bedroom or the value of what I did in terms of my income being received for what I was giving out, I have learned a few things about receiving. I would say that I am an abundant receiver, and I'm certainly a woman who has fulfilled my part of the bargain with God, and God has fulfilled their part of the bargain with me in terms of I really feel like I'm receiving and I'm thriving in my life. So I want to share some of the things that I've learned about receiving. But first, I have a question for you. Would you say that giving is masculine or receiving? And I want you to think in terms of, because you might think you know the answer, but I want you to think in terms of a mother. A beautiful woman who's a mother, who loves her children, wants them to have the best of life, and is doing everything in her power so that that will happen. She's taking care of them. She's cooking and cleaning. She's attending to their emotional needs, etc., etc. I remember when I was in my early mothering stages, and this was coinciding with the same time that I found it really difficult to receive the love, the admiration, the pleasure from my husband. And here I was, not really receiving in my private life. And in my mothering role, what do you think I was doing? I was giving and giving and giving, mostly to the kids, but also to my husband. You can just imagine how that plays out. If a woman becomes bitchy, tired, unwell, is it any wonder, really? If she is in that role of mother, and it doesn't have to be just a mother. There are women today who are caregivers for aging parents or other people in their life, or maybe that's your career as a caretaker, or I know just women in general, the way they care for their communities, their friends, their pets, their legacy, their ideas, etc. This is beautiful. However, we can really be at risk for burnout, and burnout is a pretty scary thing, and that's what happened to me in my relationship, in my early motherhood, because if you said that giving is masculine, you are correct. So what about mothers? What about the role of motherhood? Isn't that not the most feminine thing in the world? Isn't that like the epitome of femininity? Well, actually, energetically, no. Even motherhood is very masculine. All the teaching and all the doing and all the caretaking, that is the masculine. And as women, we're very good at it. We're nurturers. However, if we don't balance out all this giving with some receiving and with enough receiving, everyone suffers, especially us. But everyone in our life really does go down when we go down, because we tend to take care of a lot. So I really want tonight to really be an introduction to this incredible, fun, juicy topic of receiving. If you have any doubt in your mind about the importance of receiving, about how worthy you might be of receiving, or that receiving is selfish or not that important, etc., etc., I want to dispel all of that tonight so that we can dive deeper into this topic as we go forward. And we can't really learn about receiving if we don't think it's important. We can't be open to receiving if we have all these misunderstandings about it. So let me know if any of this is landing for you, and see what some of you are saying. Hi, Carrie. Hello, my dear. Happy belated birthday to you. By the way, my birthday's coming up in, I think, 2 days. So we're like almost twins. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Leanna. Welcome. Hi, Lori. Exactly. Yeah. Hi, Kathy. Haven't seen you for a while. I missed you. Yes, I know you're a nurse, Lori, so you could probably relate to this. Exactly. Oh, I'm so glad your husband is amazing. Exactly. Yeah. Well, we're going to be getting into that much deeper because I know you're going to be joining me for the journey on receiving. Hi, Robert. Wonder what you're getting out of this. So interesting. Hello, Christy. So glad you're here. And hi, Lori. Another Lori. Wonderful. So I want to share something that is like crazy. This is so crazy. When I first discovered this quote, and this is actually a biblical quote, whether you're religious or not, I think it's a very interesting concept. Kind of scary in a way too. The quote is, "To he who has, more will be given. To he who has not, even what he has shall be taken away." So I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's in Matthew or Mark. And when I first heard that, I was like, whoa. So what does that really even mean? To he who has, more will be given. To he who has not, even what he has will be taken away. I want you to contemplate that. I don't know if I'm going to even explain it. I think it's a really deep teaching that actually deserves some contemplation. Because sometimes when we just, talk about it and hear someone else's interpretation, we don't really get the depth of it. So I'd love you to contemplate that for yourself. And how are you someone who receives or not receives? And depending on which one, do you see a correlation between what you have and is it multiplying? Is it expanding in your life? Or do you feel like things are being shrinking and taken away? I have this sort of theory that you might have heard me say before, that aging is a beautification process. Like I know that sounds interesting, maybe a little controversial, but for me, what it really, really means is I really believe that as we, evolve and revolve around the sun each year, I just really feel that we really ought to be growing in more depth, more beauty, more abundance, just our capacity to receive. It should be constantly expanding. I don't believe that we should be dimming and shrinking and getting less and having less. And I don't see the point of that. I think that for me in my life, I want to always feel like I am expanding. There's a definition of happiness that I really love, which is it's not about the outcome. It's really about the journey. And I notice if I am simply progressing along my journey, I'm happy. And for me, that means I want to constantly be evolving and expanding. I don't want to feel like I've reached my prime and now it's all downhill. I'm going to be entering my 60th year in a couple of days. And there have been many times in my life where I felt like there was nothing to look forward to because I had reached my peak. You know that mentality where you just feel you're as good as you're ever going to be? And that to me is so toxic. It's just a kind of conditioned, programmed response. I remember when I was turning 30, I was like, no, it's kind of exciting. I didn't have it when I was turning 30. But I remember when I was turning 40, I started to kind of wobble a little bit in that. And see how you feel at your age. Do you feel like you are constantly receiving more, that you're able to give more in your life, that you're expanding in every way, or at least in the ways that are meaningful to you? There's this book called, I think it's called The Art of Giving and Receiving by Betty Martin, I believe. And she says, the only way that we can really receive what is real, no, what does she say? The only way we can really give what is real and effective to someone else, for someone else, is if we are receiving what is meaningful to us. Like, doesn't it make sense that if we are constantly receiving in our life and allowing that to continue to expand and to expand us so that we have more to give as well, that life is just going to become more juicy, more rich, more fulfilling as time goes on. Why should it be any other way? Why should we feel like, oh, we're not in our prime? The best is all behind us now. Some of us feel like we never even had a prime. I was sort of a late bloomer. I feel like I'm kind of coming into my prime. And may that continue. May it always be that way. May at 70 and 80, God willing, if I'm still around, may I continue to shine my light. And thank you for the hearts, and thank you for, if this resonates for you, I want you to feel deeply into what I'm sharing, because this is not just for me, this is for all of us. I truly believe that. And how does this relate to you? What do you want to be receiving? Where do you want to be expanding in your life? What chapter would you like to be opening this year as we really commence the new year? And as I'm going to be, entering into a new year of my life, my birthday's in a couple days, maybe yours is too, or this month or next month or soon, what chapter are you opening? And is it going to be an epic chapter? It certainly can be, right? I really, really believe that it can be for all of us. So, feeling into this conversation, I love it. There's so much richness and fun. Like, this is so fun talking about these concepts and the energetics and what is so available, what is so possible for all of us. I think it's just so fun. So I wrote a couple of things because I love hearing what other people have to say about it, and quotes and different wisdom around this topic. So there's something that I do want to share tonight about receiving, and it's really about the law of circulation. Because very often, if we're not receiving, it's because this law of circulation isn't really present. It isn't what it could be in our life. And, I talked a little bit about, in the bedroom, and how I felt like I wanted to be more of a giver than a receiver, and how that ultimately diluted my husband's desire. Like, I'm going to talk about money too, but actually I just want to stress this point that, ladies, if a man isn't really fully maybe giving and in his bounty and generosity, I have found so often it's because he's not feeling nourished by the feminine. And I don't just mean by women, because yes, most women, I think, major in the feminine, and most men major in the masculine. But as we know, the masculine qualities and the feminine qualities have nothing to do with gender. So whether it was even a same-sex relationship, there's a masculine and a feminine in both partners. And the masculine really requires to be nourished by the feminine. And when that happens, so for me, as a feminine woman, I'm attracted to masculine men. So I speak of what I know more. So I will just say, like, for men, if you're a feminine woman like myself and you desire to be with a masculine man, something that I've noticed is very important to masculine men, because I've raised two of them and I'm married to one for 26 years, they love to give. And what really nourishes them and, lights them up is the refreshment of the feminine. And that is not just a woman who's constantly giving and nurturing them. Do you know that you can really nurture and nourish a man, a masculine man, the masculine itself, by being an amazing receiver? This is something that I learned, that the more that I receive the bounty and the pleasure and whatever it is that my man brings and wants to give to me, the more he wants to give to me, the more that it actually makes him feel powerful, empowered, happy, excited. This is such a beautiful thing. This is like the symbiosis of life, of the masculine and the feminine. And this is how we nourish each other. So if you notice that you're a more masculine woman, then you will be the one who wants to give to your partner a lot of the time. And what will really excite you to give is their capacity to receive. So it's just so beautiful how this all works. And I heard this quote once. This is another crazy quote. And some of the things I say might sound controversial, and some people could be offended if they really don't understand where this is coming from. Like, this is coming from a place inside of me where I want everyone to feel nourished. I want everyone to win. I want everyone to be supported in life. It's not about gender roles or stereotypes, even though it can sound a little bit that way. It's really energetics. So what was this other thing I was going to share? It was about how the masculine, so it was about if a man is under earning financially, or if he's just not as financially stable and solvent and empowered as he wants to be, it might be because he hasn't either met his muse, or I would say also his muse, his woman hasn't really met her muse, or she's not really listening to the whispers of her muse. Because when a woman is nourished by her muse, which to me means by her inspiration, by what really lights her up and turns her on, when she's not nourished by that, she becomes sort of a vessel of like an empty shell of really what she could be. And what happens is she's going to be less juiced, less juicy, less in her, she's going to be less sourced and resourced. And she's going to be very prone to overdoing and overcompensating and going and getting depleted. However, when a woman is really lit up from within and her muse is speaking to her and whispering to her and igniting her, then the masculine counterpart, whether it's in her or in her partner, will feel very ignited and activated and empowered. So this conversation is much deeper than just wanting to be in certain roles or just wanting to take and have all the, you know, the material things of life. This is really about us being so deeply sourced by life, which is what is our birthright, which is what is meant for all of us, male or female, men or women. This is a very deep conversation. And I'm going to be going very deep into this journey because I'm on a bit of a mission. I'm at a place in my life where I feel probably the best I've ever felt in my entire life. Thank you. I just feel the healthiest. I just came off the rejuvenation retreat with a bunch of glorious women. And that always helps, right? When you do a rejuvenation reset like that, it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to take off my shoes and get comfy. It's a beautiful thing when we're really attending to our the needs of our feminine bodies. And I've been doing that all week with this group, 2 weeks now. And so I'm just feeling like I'm coming into the new year feeling really good, healthy, vibrant, strong. But also I'm at a place in my life where I feel so nourished by my relationships, by my life, sort of set myself up in a way that I feel that I can really be myself. I can dress the way I want. I can speak the way I want. I work with whom I want. I get to do what I want and live as I want, you know, and this is available to all of us. I mean, it certainly wasn't always this way for me, right? So if you're thinking, oh, well, good for you, Shakaya, you know, that sounds great and all, but that's not where you are. I wasn't always there either, and yet I have allowed myself to become there now, and it wasn't by magic, even though it is pretty magical. It's really intentional, and it's energetics of receiving. That was actually my very first journey over a decade ago, when I really wanted to turn my life around. I was really deeply miserable and depleted, and I just knew there was more for me, and you might be feeling that way too. So I want to share that I'm going to be leading a beautiful 2-month, well, it's an 8-module journey called Receiving, the Feminine Formula. I've really tapped into these energetics of receiving, and some of us are going to want to go deeper than just what I can share in a Facebook Live. So if you do, stay tuned, because there's going to be more coming, so that you can feel into whether or not this journey is right for you, because it isn't right for everyone. It really truly is something that you have to know is something you're ready for, because there is shifts that will be required, and these aren't always easy. They're very, very simple, but they're not always easy, especially when we've been so programmed to be achievers rather than receivers. But I'm really on this mission because I felt so good in my life. I want to see other women get to a place where they feel empowered, beautiful, resourced, and infinitely open to receiving. This is a little mission of mine right now. And I'm going to see how many women this year I can really support to open to receive. Now, if you're a man who's listening, I'm not really sure what you're getting out of this, but one thing I do want to say to the men, my group, it's more for women, so you probably won't be invited to be on that journey with me, but something I do want to share to the masculine and to the men. I absolutely adore you and thank you for being in my life and in my world in whatever capacity. And the feminine is so blessed by the masculine. And women who have really good men in their life are really, 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 really blessed. I am one of those women who have 3 stellar, incredible men around me at all times. And I can tell you that men really, really are incredible givers. They're heroes. They really want to do right by the women in their life. They want to make the world a better place. And I know it's not really of the zeitgeist right now. It's more about feminine power and women power and the one who has the pussy and all that. And there's so much to be said around that too, because women have been so subjugated, and yeah, you know, it really is our time to shine, and that's fantastic. But let us not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let us not forget to really appreciate the men and the masculine in our life, because the more we do, the more they feel uplifted and energized. It really is incredible how men are so bountiful and so powerful and so generous, and that's truly it is their ecstasy to give and to do and to really support the feminine. So thank you if you're a man who's in my field. Thank you for being here and watching. I'm not sure what you're getting out of it, but my tip of my crown to you and my appreciation. And for the women who want to deep dive more into this incredible receiving journey and energetics, stay tuned, because more is coming. I was thinking maybe how I could support you is maybe next time I'll do a transmission about, you know, with more content, more teaching, maybe around the myths of receiving, because I think this is something that really trips up a lot of people, a lot of women. And I have so much to share on that I think could be really, really helpful. So stay tuned. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. If you have any aha moments or feedback, I'm all ears. Or you can DM me as well. So let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, I think I was talking about the law of circulation. It's a good thing I wrote a couple things down, because I would have forgotten. So I want to share that just before we get off. just as our bodies have the blood, and our blood has to circulate in order to be healthy, money, and I did say I want to talk about money. I do want to say a couple things. Money. When I couldn't receive money in my life, what I learned was it wasn't a money problem I had. It was actually a receiving problem. And that money was actually one of the easiest things to receive once I understood the energetics of it. And it really does have to do with the art of receiving, because a lot of times we think that we have to be either working so hard to receive, or in terms of money, what's another sort of quandary we have? What was mine was that mine in particular, let me think back because it's been a while, I just don't feel that way anymore. I'd have to really feel into it. When I couldn't receive and charge what I was worth, it was really around feeling that one of the things I had, if I were to receive this money, I had this crazy notion that I was taking from someone else. Like, if I received the money, that meant that I had it, but now they had less. And I didn't understand the energetics of money and giving and receiving properly that made me feel that way, because it's not the case at all. I'll go deeper into that maybe next time, because there are certain myths around receiving that I think would be really, really beneficial for you to understand. If you're not charging what your value is, or if you're not receiving love or prosperity or connection, or even our health sometimes and intuition, whatever it is you feel you're not receiving, but especially around money, it's if you receive the financial compensation for what you give out and what you're doing, you're not actually taking. There's a difference between giving and taking, and I'd like to get into that next time as well. So for now, I will just say that if you're not receiving all the money and prosperity and abundance that you desire, that's probably not because you have a money problem, it's because you have a receiving problem. And once you learn how to receive and open to receive, and the energetics shift in you, that is when you will see the money coming in. And I'll give you an example. When I first started and I had my ebook, and it was only $19.95, I had so many people want it for free. They were like, I can't afford it. I would love to read it. Could you just gift it to me, Shakaya, blah, blah, blah. And now I can receive $10,000 for a VIP client to work with me on a private one-on-one basis, and feel like it's all the same. It's like there's no order of receiving. It's not like receiving a $10,000 client is harder than receiving for an ebook that I might have. It's just all the same. It's receiving is receiving. So if you're not receiving, it's a receiving problem, not the money itself. So another way I want to talk about that is in terms of, like I started to say with the law of circulation, we require to receive a circulation in our system. The blood, the lungs, the oxygen, everything has to circulate for us to be healthy. We know that. And it's the same with water. If there's a stagnant body of water and the currency isn't flowing, and isn't it funny how that word currency means money as well? Money, just like blood, just like water, has to flow in order to be healthy. The blood in our body has to flow. The money in our life has to flow. So really, if you are receiving money for your work, you're not taking. You're actually, in a healthy way, demonstrating the law of circulation, which says you cannot give what you do not have. And we know that. We know we can't give what we don't have. But you also cannot keep what you don't give. Isn't that interesting? If you try to hoard and hang on to your money or anything else, it's like that quote earlier, you will lose it. And I'm going to go into that more, I think, next time. There's so much I want to share. There's just no way I can go too into it tonight because it'll be too much. So let's do another one of these. Let me know if you want me to do another one, because I think there's some really juicy bits that I could really get in deeper next time. If you're up for that, give me a heart, give me some, yeah, give me some love, give me some energy, and let me know. But the other thing of the law of circulation is you cannot sustain what you don't receive. So you see how it's all such a beautiful circulation? So one is not better than the other. And I think next time maybe I'll do a little exercise to prove that too. All these things are sort of coming to me as I just sort of like am here sharing with you, and this is so fun and so juicy, and like I just have all these ideas. So I wanted to come on tonight to really just open up this topic. I hope you found some value in it. Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you'd be down for another one of these. And if you want some details about my upcoming course, The Feminine Formula of Receiving, I'd love you to go check out that as well. And you can DM me for the link or send it, maybe I'll put it in the comments. I can let you know what it is here, but if you forget, yeah, I should put it in the comments. Go to my site, earthempress.com, earthempress.com/receive. And you will see what's in the course and all the details. And we're starting at the end of January, either the end of January or the first week in February, one of the two, but very, very soon. So if you want more information, you can go check that out. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I love this topic. This is really what's lighting me up right now. So let me know if this has been helpful and valuable, and if you have any other questions or comments or anything you want to share about what we've talked about tonight. I'd love that. So I'm going to say good night. I've got something I want to do now. I don't want to go on and on and on. I think that was good for tonight. And thank you for being here. Thank you so much for watching and sharing and being with me. I love your comments. Hi, Eileen. So happy you're all spending some time with me about this very important topic of receiving and giving and doing it in the right balance, and how we experience our experiences. Oh my God, there's just so much. There's just so much available to us when we really have this giving and receiving in its perspective. Life just becomes so juicy, and then we have more to give when we receive, and then we have even more to receive when we give. It's like they are really, you could never really separate them. It's the same energy, honestly. But so many of us are just focused on one side of the coin. So I'm on a little mission to shift that. And by doing so, our lives are just going to all improve, because the more we have to give. The more we have to give, the more we can actually sustain. And then, of course, we can circulate and find that our lives improve, and all the people in our lives can improve. And that's what we want. We want everyone around us to win. It's really not fun if you're the only one receiving and other people are in lack and suffering. It's just so much better when we can all smile and give and receive and have the life that was intended for all of us. So thank you for joining me tonight, and I can't wait to share more soon. And have a beautiful rest of your evening. And thank you for being here. Talk soon. Ciao for now. Bye, everyone.